Announce any decisions of this board are final. If there's anyone aggrieved by the decision of this board, they may appeal to circuit court within 15 days of the board's decision. Also, no permits or license can be issued during that appeal period or until the 15-day appeal period is expired, no appeal has been filed. For information regarding the board's decision or an appeal to circuit court, the Office of Land Use Administration will be your contact. As you come to the podium, you'll be requested to provide your name and address for the record. If you have an electronic device, and also those on the board, if you'll turn them on silent or off so we won't have a disturbance. As you come to the podium also and you give your statement, if you will, direct it to the board, not to others in the audience or to the staff, unless we request guidance from the staff. All right, let me go in order of calling the attendance. Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Coleman?
Here.
Mr. Metcalf?
Here.
Mr. Burrows? Mr. Milling?
Here.
Mr. Golden?
Here.
And I'm William Guess. And we have a quorum. It takes 5 members to approve an motion, whether up or down on a variance request. And we have somebody that should recuse themselves. It appears we'll still have a sufficient number to make a vote and for the motion to carry. All right, we'll go in order. We have application 6020, 3149, 1870, McDowell Knight, Rotor Sledge. And my understanding this is recommended for a holdover as they go through, continue the court process.
Yes, the applicant sent an email requesting that the case be held over until May 2018 meeting.
Okay. Any questions of the board? Staff recommends a holdover, and Chair will entertain a motion.
Go ahead. So move.
So move, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion with a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, now we'll go into our regular variance request. Application 6148. This is 149, Battery Lane. The applicant's rep, if you'll come to the podium, please. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are y'all?
I'm Alan. Address?
Alan Jones, address 10660 County Road 1 in Fairhope. I'm the representing contractor.
Okay, have you seen staff's recommendations? Or has your
owner of the property, Mr.
Owner of the property.
Yes, sir, Mr. Watchsponner's here.
Okay. The staff has a recommendation for part of the variance, which would be for the side yard setback and for the wall taller than 3 foot.
Yes, sir.
But they've recommended for denial for an additional, for the addition to an existing dwelling. Is that correct? Okay. So, if you will, proceed.
Okay. The proposed engineered plans that have been done by Bethel Engineering, they're basically gaining the 10-foot setback, the 10-foot addition that's going to be within the setback. We have a gable that needs to be extended. The master bedroom that is laid out on that side of the existing dwelling does not have a closet. It does not have the room to accept a tub. So in proportion and with percentage of gaining the other side of the existing house, we're wanting to propose to bring in an additional 10 foot. We have, if y'all have, actually, we have some proposed pictures here on a laptop. If y'all have the ability, I don't know, do we need some type of a flash drive to show y'all some existing pictures?
We have some existing pictures in the file, correct?
You do. If you, we did submit a set of plans. We also submitted, I think, 12.
Any information that was submitted should be in the file.
Okay. Okay, there's some pictures in the file here. They're of the exterior of the property. Is that what you're?
Yes, sir.
It appears you've already started on this project. Okay, I'll pass this file along to some of the board members to review.
It looks like we're, we're currently existing within the setback right now. We're existing close to 9 feet from it. We're not going to be, it looks like the proposal is not going to interfere with any public utilities. We're not going to interfere with encroaching across the property line. There's a good image of it right there, yes, sir. We couldn't basically lay the house out to propose the addition to be built on the other side due to the fact that what resonated the owner to want to create this addition is the owner's vehicles will not currently fit in the existing carport. So the ridge cap has got to be raised an additional 18 inches to allow for the overhead door to be able to open and close and accept the current vehicles. So with that being said, the existing gable is going to have to be increased by 10 feet towards the front side. With that being said, also you'd have to bring out the rear side that's going to continue within the setback, but you have to continue to chase the bearing wall all the way down to hold the gable. So we didn't see any other options besides coming to the board, and actually once we discovered that we're going to be continuing within the setback, but at the same time not encroaching any adjoining neighbors or going across any property lines. So today we actually took another picture that shows the existing setback where it should be at the minimum restriction and where it is, and we also have a picture showing where the addition is actually outlined. We have laid out some lumber where the future proposed batter boards would go. I don't know if that would help for any of the board members to justify any reasoning to move forward with the approval.
Okay. Just a second, if you wouldn't mind. Bert, if you'll explain the staff's recommendations, they're in support of the side yard setback for the masonry wall.
Right. There is an existing masonry wall on the site. It is this curved line here. And this house was built in the early 60s, I believe, prior to the current zoning ordinance setback requirements. And this wall was probably built around the same time, we think. It's been there for a long time, we believe. So for that to remain, staff is okay with that. But to expand the house, which is what this red line is, the dashed line is the minimum setback that we can get to through the zoning ordinance for a side yard that abuts a street, and that's 12 feet. And so they would be extending a few feet beyond that.
What's the setback from the property line?
The setback from the property line is supposed to be a minimum of 8 feet.
And how much is this going to encroach?
Currently, right now, we're at, it's at 9 feet now, but we're not going to encroach further into it, but a foot. It's the fact that we're actually going towards the corner. So we're going to basically be encroaching in the actual setback a foot.
So you'll be at 8 feet.
Yeah. So
Which is but 12 feet from the...
12 feet from the street side. and then 8 feet is the minimum from the side property line over here.
And this home has two street side.
Yes,
Yes,
it
sir.
has frontage on Battery Lane and on Avalon Street.
Where's the address?
One-
Primarily on Battery?
Battery, yes, sir.
So this is a side,
This,
a rear, I guess. Okay.
right, the side yard would be the adjoining side.
Okay. Let me ask the board, do we have any questions of the board for the applicant's rep? Okay. If you'll give us a second. Is there anyone else in favor of this application who wishes to speak at this time? Anyone in opposition? Okay, we have one letter from the adjacent neighbor in support of it. All of the members of the board should have a copy of it. And he states that, or they state, I should say, that they're not in opposition. Okay? All right, thank you. Discussion of the board? All right, Chair, entertain a motion.
Your motion for approval, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
You have a second?
I have a motion to approve, a second, any conditions? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll go to the next application. This is 1590, Ryko Signs. This is for 5701 Old Shell Road. Not that we don't know who you are, but name and address for the record.
Wade Wright, I've been missing y'all. Wade Wright, Ryko Signs, 3345 Halls Mill Road, and we are here today to discuss a second wall sign at the Dunkin' Donuts at 5701 Old Shell. And I have with me Mr. Tony Antone. He is the Dunkin' Donuts gentleman here in the Mobile area.
Okay. Well, first let me state that staff's recommendation is for denial. Would you proceed with telling us why we should ought to consider otherwise?
Well, what we're asking the board for is just to install this sign on the the south side of the building for the northbound traffic. Because if you'll notice in that parking lot, once you see our pylon sign, you've missed the entrance to the store. And as that traffic comes down University, or up University, I should say, we're trying to just make ourselves visible. The sign that we're asking for, coupled with the sign that we currently have, is still less than half of what we would be allowed by code. In addition to that, you know, we've had a little tough time in this Mobile market, but we're determined to be here and to be here for a long time. So any extra visibility that we could get for that traffic to catch our turn into the parking lot before they get to that intersection would certainly be appreciated and very beneficial, we think, to our business there.
Okay. Now, you'll have signage on a pylon sign as well, freestanding?
The landlord has provided us a panel for the pylon. It's a monument, it's not a pylon.
Or
I'm sorry.
monument.
And it's, I mean, if you know what you're looking for, you can see it. It's not very big. We have, AT&T has the largest space on it. We have a secondary space on it. It's at the corner of the lot.
Yes, sir.
And I may want to add, I would like to add, once people see the monument, they've passed the entrance that's on the university side for Dunkin' Donuts. So once you see it, you'd almost have to turn onto Old Shell Road and double back.
Yeah, you would have to double back on Old Shell. You would have to go past the entrance, past Fuzzy's Tacos, back around too.
I travel this area all the time, so I know exactly what you're saying.
Very good.
But the bank has the opposite on the regions across the street from you. So, okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. So Wade, as far as the signage currently, so you're asking for the sign on the south side for northbound traffic, then you're
Correct.
going to have some type of signage on the monument sign out front. What about on the front?
Yeah,
of
there's
the-
going to be the Dunkin' Donuts logo on the front,
Okay,
right, facing east.
right, okay.
Right.
And Bert, all of those are in compliance, it's just the additional
Yes,
sign.
sir. The sign on the front of the building and the pylon sign are installed, and the business is open as of this weekend.
Yeah, thanks.
Does the AT&T facility have just one sign on the front and one on the
Th-
monument?
They have two wall signs because they're a corner unit. So they have a wall sign on Old Shell Road and one facing University, as well as the top sign on the monument sign.
Well, this is a corner unit as well.
But it does not have frontage on two streets.
Correct, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions of the board? This facility has a drive-through, correct?
It does have drive-through.
Which is on the south side where you're proposing this additional sign?
That's correct.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience who wish at this time to speak in favor of the application? Anyone in opposition? Okay. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Discussion of the board?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Have a motion to approve with a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And the chair will vote in opposition. So we have 6 in favor and 1 in opposition. So the motion passes. All right, application 6150, Alabama Power.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Jay Watkins. I'm an attorney with Maynard, Cooper & Gale. My address is 11 North Royal, Suite 24290, Mobile 36602. I'm here today on behalf of Alabama Power Company. I've provided a package of photographs at each of your podiums to give you a little better illustration of what we're asking for today. As some of you may be aware, Alabama Power Company has its main office here on Royal Street downtown. The first photograph in the packet shows you that building, and you'll see they've got about a 160-foot tower that is part of that office complex, which provides them antenna service for their linemen and their employees. The staff report indicates that this is a cellular tower communication site. It's not. This is totally self-contained for Alabama Power Company and for its employees and use of the company. They do not lease space to cell tower service. They don't have co-location facilities there. This is 100% dedicated to Alabama Power Company. That tower has been in existence for almost 50 years. It is reaching its useful life, and the power company would like to replace it with something that is a little more technologically advanced and also be able to move some of their equipment that they're currently using on the existing tower to the new facility. The new tower would be the exact same height, 160 feet. Because they need to maintain uninterrupted service, what we're asking for is to be allowed to build this tower, this new tower, about 40 feet southeast of the current tower on the power company property. And if you look at the last page of the handout and what's on the board behind you, that is a rendering of what the new tower would look like in the location. It will be tucked into the corner of the parking lot there at Royal Street and St. Louis. And once that tower is up and the facilities have been transferred over, the existing tower will be removed. We anticipate that there would be about a 3 to 4 week period of time in which both towers would be up. But once the new tower is up and operational, the existing tower would be removed. We're aware of the staff's recommendation of approval. We're in agreement with the conditions that they've placed on that approval and would ask you to grant a variance to allow that tower to be relocated on the Alabama Power property site and the existing tower to be removed a few weeks later.
Okay, any questions of the board for the applicant's rep? I'll remind the board that it may be 4 or 5 years ago, we approved a similar tower on Hillcrest at the Alabama, I think it's their disaster recovery site. I'm not sure what they call it.
Yes, sir.
So this is in line with their other facilities. Okay, once again, any questions of the board?
Jay, did you say it would take 3 or 4 weeks to dismantle the existing one once the new one's up, or how long will that take?
We were talking about that coming into the meeting today. A lot of that is going to be driven by both the customer and employee traffic in and out of this building. They're working right now to determine how, whether that can be done after hours or on the weekends. If they can do it after hours, I think that time compresses somewhat. But if they need to do it over weekends and in the evenings, then it will probably take the full 3 weeks to dismantle and bring it down.
Okay, any additional questions? Okay. For the sake of business, anyone in the audience in favor of this application that has anything to add? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Chuck Diard. I'm the clerk of the Federal District Court at 113 St. Joseph Street. When I saw this come up for discussion, I wanted to go over a few things to make sure they hadn't changed, and the gentleman did explain that the height would not change of what is there now. The location on the site I was a bit concerned with, and maybe that could be further explained because it said within the parking lot of Alabama Power. I'm not sure if you're all aware, but we're spending $89 million in taxpayers' dollars on the 2 courthouses across the street, and this already is pretty unsightly from the front view of the courthouse. And I wasn't around when this variance was approved in the first place, but I was certainly concerned about the visual appearance for both our courthouses and the Detente Square area. That's all I have.
Okay, any
Unless you have
questions?
questions for me.
All right, thank you, sir. Yes.
I'd like to abstain from this vote. I have some late connection without no power.
Okay. All right, if you'll have a seat in the audience, Mr. Burrows.
And if I could answer the questions, the new site for this tower will be in the northwest corner of the parking lot fronting St. Louis Street, as indicated on the diagram behind you. The intent is to tuck it into that corner between the 2 buildings, and then to put a fence around it, which will mirror the fence that currently surrounds that existing parking lot. The power company has also indicated a willingness to paint that tower a color that will match the color of the surrounding buildings, so that the first 4 floors of that tower, the first 40 feet roughly, would be the same paint color as the existing building that backs it up. So in essence, to try to make that tower blend in. From the prospect of the courthouse, I think if you look at the picture, the first picture in the packet that I provided, we're moving the tower 40 feet from the existing site closer to St. Louis Street and tucking into the corner about where the laser pointer is now. So I think the visual impact will be, I can't say it will be any greater than it is currently. I think it will be minimized, and from the location of the new courthouse, certainly will not be any greater than the current impact. As I said earlier, they're going in with a newer technology. The existing tower is probably 18 feet at its base, tapering up. The new tower will be 10 feet at its base and will be 10 feet from top to bottom. So again, doing what they can with the new technology and the new materials to lessen the silhouette of that tower.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Jay, instead of the steel lattice design, did they consider a monopole?
I think they have considered a monopole to do this, but given the types of antenna that are going to be placed on this tower, as you can see in the photographs, they've got the round arrays, and they're at various levels. I think they have to have the lattice work in order to support the antenna structures that they've got to have.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions?
Yeah, Jay, one question. The old tower is kind of tucked in between 2 buildings. Is there some reason the new tower can't be placed there?
Primarily because they've got to have continuous operations, and because the way it's tucked in between those buildings now, that is an entry and exit point for that building. And so taking it down, first of all, they can't put it back in that site and keep continuous operations. Secondly, taking it down in that particular location having to build in the foundations and what is required to support that tower would disrupt the kind of the general flow of the employees and folks coming in and out of that building at that entry point. I think the foundations have got to be, did you say 10, 12 feet deep? How far they got to go down for the foundations? How many? All right, so 20 to 30 feet down to put the foundations in place to support this tower, and doing that work in that narrow location between those two buildings would prove to be difficult.
Okay. Any further questions?
Mr. Chairman, one other question.
Okay.
Jay, why does it have to be here, and why could it not be at Michigan Avenue?
If you'll come to the podium, sir. And your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Clay Brogdon. My address is 4601 South Lake Parkway in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm the manager of site acquisition and construction for Southern Link, and we're the communications provider for Alabama Power Company. And we already have an existing site at Michigan Avenue. And so this location right here is needed. If we can't locate right here, we're going to have a gaping hole in our network. And we're already on the tower at Michigan Avenue, the Alabama Power Facility at Michigan Avenue.
Okay. Any further questions? Anyone else in the audience either in favor or opposition today? Okay. Staff recommends this application for approval with some conditions subject to the CRC approval in conformance with all other codes and ordinances. And I'm sure Mr. Anderson can give us quite a in-depth education on communication towers and requirements for those under the federal guidelines. All right, Chair will entertain a motion.
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman, subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
I have a motion with a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Let the record reflect Mr. Burrows recused himself. All right, we'll go to what I believe is the last application today. 6151, 3709. This is 7054 House Ferry Road. All right, your name and address for the record, sir?
My name is Alan Chastain. I'm the owner of LA Signs at 1591 Theodore. I'm here today on behalf of Prestige Event Center. We're requesting a variance for an additional sign on their building that they have constructed, in the process of still constructing. Provided some handouts so the board members can see some recent pictures of the building in its state as it is right now.
Which is these, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. Yes.
Each of you should have pictures that the applicant's rep has handed out.
Yes. Currently, the sign ordinance allows one building sign on the building because it's considered a multi-tenant site. And we're requesting a variance for a second sign to be approved above another entrance. This building has two entrances. We're asking for an additional sign to be put above the second entrance there that actually can fit the name of the business there, Prestige Event Center. Mr. Brown constructed this building with the purpose of making it look nice for the community, adding some borders and some details and some stone. And what we understand is part of the problem is that there are differences in plane, I believe is the term that they use, where the building rises towards you, then drops back, drops back off again. And so because there's a difference in plane, we can't use the current placement of the sign as one sign. It would be considered two. If the building was flat and in plane all the way across, we could, for what I understand, we could possibly have one whole sign there, even spaced apart, but together is considered as one. But due to that difference in plane and the decorative pieces he put on the building to make it look more appealing to the community, he is unable to do this. I would like to note too that because this is a multi-tenant site, Mr. Brown is actually the owner of the second business that's located on this property, which you can see in the picture there, the building's next door to it. So he owns both buildings, but as I did mention, it's a multi-tenant site. So again, respectfully, we're asking the board to be able to approve a secondary sign on this building above an entrance, which is typically common among businesses in Mobile, where they have signs above entrances here, and especially such a large building. We're not using really all the square footage we're allowed for signage on this building here, so that's our purpose of being here today.
Will there be any additional tenants in this building, or just the one tenant?
I'm aware of no, just Mr. Brown. Is that correct, Mr. Brown? No other tenants, correct? Yes, just him.
And do you have, well, there's two streets in which this building fronts, or this property, I should say.
Yes, it's
Ferry
Meek.
and Cody.
Yes.
Is there an entrance off of Cody that we're putting any signs over?
There is an entrance off Cody, but we're not adding additional signs there because it's not the front of the building, and it's not that putting signs on that side of the building is not really of benefit to the traffic coming through because you can't really see it. It's kind of closed and it's not open like the front of the building is.
Bert, would this normally, because it fronts two roads, allow two signs?
Well,
Signs?
similar to the AT&T tenant suite that we spoke about earlier, this would be allowed one sign on the front of the building and one wall sign on the side of the building.
Okay.
So it could have two wall signs, but we
Just
would
not on the same side of the building?
Not on the same side, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any questions of the board for the applicant?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Metcalf?
Is this a renovation of an existing structure?
There was a previous structure there, but it was torn down, correct, Mr. Brown?
Did they not
Yes.
get a PUD? Okay.
Yes, they've gone through the planning commission process and they have PUD and subdivision approvals.
Okay.
Yes. And Mr. Brown, and I'm sure he would like to speak in a moment too, but if we're not allowed a secondary sign, one of those empty spaces there will be, one of the spaces there will become empty, which will not really look good for his building because he created this space for additional signage, not knowing that he's only allowed with such a big building just one sign on it. So it wouldn't look really good to have that empty space there.
Okay. Any other questions of the board? All right. Do you gentlemen have anything else to add that he hasn't already provided us? Your name and address, sir.
Yes, Robert Brown, reside at 1725 Northview Drive, which is in Mobile, Alabama as well. As Alan said, first Suite A is where we operate business out of. This particular area here at House Ferry and Cody was, for several years, it was not well kept. It was a vacant area for several years. And within constructing this building, I wanted to, my main mission and objective was to make sure that we concentrate on increasing the appearance and the value of that area, since it was kind of ran down for several years. So we went through extensive measures to design this building and make it the appearance feasible for this area. And with that second sign not being there, what it actually looks like as if where the P is, it looks as if this part is occupied and the second entrance is not occupied. It makes it look like it's just an empty building waiting on a tenant or so, but it's not. And we wanted to get that appearance where when you pass by, it'll give you that appearance from the street, as well as bring the value up in that particular area.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Brown? All right, anyone else in the audience either in favor or opposition today? All right, thank you. This particular application is very similar to one we had last month with Mr. Phillips, with his office, law office, and the architectural feature.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is somewhat similar, except that that was a single-tenant site, and they would be allowed 3 signs by right. All of them could be wall signs since they didn't have a freestanding sign.
Right.
So,
well, my point is this is almost appears to be an architectural feature more so than a sign, but...
Well, except that in this case, whereas the Green and Phillips was part of the actual building,
Correct.
part of the actual building
It's built
structure.
into the structure.
Right, this is an applied letter onto the building facade, so slight difference.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments of the board? All right, Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Metcalf?
I think due primarily to the fact that a second sign would be allowed on the other street frontage, and the fact that it's just really more of a feature type with just a letter, I'd move for approval.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Good luck to y'all. All right. Other than, I think, business of the board, I think we'll complete our meeting today. And I don't know how to proceed as the chair.
Well, you need to make nominations for chairman and vice chairman, and those nominations need to be seconded, and each need to be voted upon.
All right, well, let's entertain a motion for the nomination for the vice chair to start with. Well, everybody run out, make a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, make a motion. Are we making a motion for the vice chair right now?
For the vice chair,
Vice chair.
Mr. Bishop.
I'm sorry, for who?
Sanford Bishop.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, for the president, or for the, not the president, the chair.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate you.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Do I have to accept? How does this work? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right, I recuse myself, and motion carries. Thank you all for your confidence once again. It won't matter. We have a majority. All right, gentlemen.
Thank you all very much
Good
also.
evening.
Appreciate it.
Motion to adjourn.
Congratulations, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Mr. Chair.
Yep, the pay is just getting better every year.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
I got to call my wife, see what's going on here. I'll see you later. Okay, congratulations. Thank you.
I will hold off until after.
No, I just forwarded the text to you. I haven't had a chance to call. I'm in a board meeting down here at the city.
She better. I understand. All right, she can see. She can see. Yeah. And another thing, what's frustrating her is she's got freedom, so she can't cry. But anyway, no, I've been here, what, a year maybe, or a little over, and I can't see. I don't see nobody putting that much time in.
Well, I'm open to whatever. There's a trade-off. You know, sometimes it's nice to sit back and let somebody else.
Well, look, I mean, what I mean. And you helped me out early on.
Well, that's what we're here for.
You ventured off of it. You helped me out.
Experience comes with it, so. Well, let me turn off.
I'm gonna let you go.
All right, well, you have a good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm gonna be.